There are moments in life when a single decision quietly shapes everything that follows. These decisions are often made not in dramatic moments, but in silence, when emotions rise faster than reason and impatience disguises itself as strength. This is a story about such a moment, and about the quiet power of patience when anger threatens to take control. Long ago, beyond distant hills and winding rivers, there stood a prosperous kingdom known for its fertile land and orderly people. The kingdom was ruled by a young monarch named King Adrian, who ascended the throne at the age of 26 after the sudden passing of his father. Though young, Adrian carried himself with confidence and a strong desire to prove he was worthy of his crown. From childhood, he had been guided by a thoughtful and deeply respected mentor named Marcus, a scholar who believed that leadership was not about command, but about understanding. Marcus taught Adrian history, philosophy, and governance, but more importantly, he taught him patience, restraint, and the art of listening. A ruler who cannot master his own emotions, Marcus often said, will never truly govern others. After the old king passed away, Marcus was appointed as the kingdom's chief advisor. The people trusted him, and Adrian relied on his counsel in nearly every decision. Under their shared leadership, the kingdom flourished, harvests were plentiful, trade routes were secure, and disputes were resolved peacefully. It seemed as though wisdom and stability would reign for generations, but life, as it often does, tested that balance. One year, an unexpected drought struck the region. Rain clouds passed without breaking, rivers shrank, and crops began to fail. Marcus, who oversaw agricultural planning, had misjudged seasonal patterns and advised the kingdom to delay storing surplus grain. The mistake was unintentional, yet its consequences were severe. As food shortages spread, fear grew among the people. Farmers protested, merchants complained, and whispers of doubt reached the palace walls. King Adrian, overwhelmed by pressure and fear of appearing weak, allowed frustration to overpower reason. Instead of seeking calm counsel, he let anger speak. In a moment of heated emotion, he summoned Marcus to the royal court and accused his mentor of negligence and betrayal, refusing to hear an explanation. Before anyone could intervene, Adrian ordered Marcus to leave the kingdom immediately and never return. The hall fell silent. Marcus did not argue or defend himself. With a calm bow, he accepted the decree. His sadness was not for himself, but for the young king who had allowed anger to guide his decision. That same evening, Marcus left the palace with only a small bundle of belongings. Far from the capital, Marcus settled in a remote village surrounded by fields and forests. Though he still possessed wealth in name, he chose a simple life. He worked alongside farmers, listened to villagers' concerns, and offered guidance when asked. Over time, his calm presence transformed the village. Conflicts softened, cooperation grew, and the land itself seemed to respond to the steady rhythm of patience and understanding. Back in the capital, Adrian's anger slowly faded, but regret took its place. Without Marcus's guidance, decisions became heavier and problems felt overwhelming. Night after night, Adrian replayed the moment he banished his mentor, wishing he had paused, breathed, and listened. Determined to correct his mistake, he sent soldiers across the kingdom to search for Marcus. Days turned into weeks, then months, but no one could find him. The kingdom was vast, and Marcus had left no trace behind. One evening, Adrian remembered a lesson Marcus once taught him. True wisdom reveals itself not through force but through understanding. Inspired by this, Adrian devised a test of insight. He ordered a sealed letter and an empty clay jar to be sent to every village leader, instructing them to return the jar within 1 month, filled with wisdom. If they failed, they were to fill it with precious stones instead. Confusion spread across the kingdom. How could wisdom be placed inside a jar? When the letter reached the small village where Marcus lived, fear spread among the villagers. They lacked jewels and worried about punishment. Turning to Marcus, they asked for help. He listened quietly and reassured them, saying wisdom cannot be rushed and solutions come with time. He asked them to leave the jar with him and trust the process. Days passed as Marcus reflected calmly. One morning, while tending his garden, he noticed a young squash vine beginning to grow. An idea formed naturally. He carefully placed the clay jar around the growing squash without cutting it from the vine. Each day he watered it, allowing it to grow freely. Over time, the squash expanded inside the jar until it filled the entire space. When it reached full size, Marcus gently cut the vine and sealed the jar. At the end of the month, the jar was delivered to the palace. When King Adrian opened it, he was stunned. Inside was a perfectly grown squash shaped entirely by the jar that contained it. The court murmured in amazement. Adrian smiled sadly and said, "This is the work of a patient mind." He knew instantly who was behind the solution. Without delay, Adrian set out to find Marcus. When they met, Adrian bowed deeply and apologized, not as a king, but as a student. Marcus accepted the apology without resentment, reminding him that mistakes, when reflected upon, become lessons. Together they returned to the kingdom, guided by wisdom and calm understanding. The kingdom learned a lesson far greater than governance. When anger speaks, wisdom waits. And when the mind becomes calm, solutions appear not through force, but through patience and clarity. Thank you for listening and learning through this story. If you found value in it, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and receive more meaningful stories that help you grow in both English and life. Wishing you good health, peace, patience, and clarity in all that you do. See you in the next story.